Well, a weekend's worth of games have come and gone, and we're going to recap them here. It's going to be a weekend recap version of Locked On MLB.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I am a video producer, a experienced podcaster. Actually won an award as a podcaster. I've been an Emmy-nominated TV producer. I've done a lot of stuff regarding baseball, and every day of the week, I am covering Major League Baseball here on the Locked On Podcast Network. This particular show is being dropped on the 9th day of July, which is a Sunday, and I'm going to be recapping the games that took place on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we have a general idea what's going on in baseball, especially in some of those games you may not have been following. I'm going to be breaking up a little bit. I'm recording this one on early Saturday morning. So I don't know what happens on Saturday evening and Saturday and Sunday night yet. It's all news to me. Hey, follow us at Locked On MLB Pod, same handle for Instagram. I can be at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast, Instagram for my personal account. And thanks so much for making us your first listeners. We're available on all your free podcasts and catchers. So, yeah, I'm going to try to do some of this and my Millard catch-up. So that'll be coming up on Monday. But for those of you who want to have a little go around the horn a little bit, talk a little bit about the teams that are making news or maybe not making news that should be making news. Let's go over some of the games that took place. First of all, there's a Red Sox-Yankee game that's not really worth talking about. The Red Sox got clobbered. Once again, the Yankees pitching is outstanding. The Red Sox managed to score 5 runs in the first 2 games of the series. They lost the first game 6-5. The last one was, I think, 12-5. As my mom would say, the final score was a lot to not enough. And if the Red Sox had won that first game, this might be an intriguing series. You know, it mean that they would only have to win one more game to have it be a split, which, by the way, the Yankees have been playing. You'd take a split. You take breaking even when they come into town. But now I'm just convinced it's going to be a 4-game sweep by the Yankees. I'll be stunned if the Red Sox win a game. And if you're a Red Sox fan, you just, cross your fingers and hope that, you can weather a 4-game losing streak to the Yankees and go on in pursuit of the wild card. A couple of teams are making their presence known as potential wild card teams for the second half. I'll get to them a little bit later. One of the teams the Red Sox are contending with for a wild card spot are the Cincinnati Reds, who lost on Friday night on a walk-off balk. Nothing's more exciting than the walk-off balk in extra innings. A runner who was on base that shouldn't have been there because they had the stupid ghost runner on second rule, got over to third, and in a weird movement by Whistler, whether it was a balk or not, I didn't see it. Balks are super confusing. I'd get rid of them. But there you go. A ghost runner gets balked in. Baseball 2022. The Mets got a decent performance from Chris Bassett, but it was the Marlins who managed to, Brian De La Cruz got his 3 hits, and the Marlins wound up winning that one 5-2. The Marlins are inching closer to 500. Remember I said they were a better team than people gave them credit for at the beginning of the year? I'm looking somewhat prophetic. The Braves picked up a game on the Mets with a 12-2 victory. And Michael Harris II. Why is it not Michael Harris Jr.? I don't know. But he got a ton of hits, including a home run. Ronald Acuna Jr. hit a 3-run home run. The Braves looked pretty good. The Twins wound up losing the game to the Texas Rangers. And that would mean that the Guardians would have gained ground if they could beat the Royals, but they didn't. They lost 4-3. That would mean the White Sox would be able to gain ground if they could beat the Tigers. They didn't. They lost 7-5. This is why the Twins are going to win this division. Even when they lose games they shouldn't lose, they don't lose any ground. Milwaukee wound up holding on against the Pirates, and the Brewers are, with a little bit of a help from Willie Adames and his solo home run, and another save by Josh Hader, the Brewers are hanging on to their spot in the number one spot in the Central. The Jose Urquidy had the pitching performance of the night, at least in the American League, pitching 8 really good innings against the Oakland A's. The final score there was 8-3. The Padres held on, wearing very strange uniforms, a sloppy game by the Giants. The Giants are at even 500. 82 games into the season, the Giants are 500. Last year they won 107 games. This year they're at break even. Big difference a year makes. And the Padres are trying to put the pressure on Los Angeles, but the Dodgers tied the game in the ninth. Will Smith won it in the 10th, and they beat the lowly Chicago Cubs by a score of 4-3 right down the street. Now, the two main teams I'm going to talk about in this segment, I'm trying to keep these segments relatively quick. The Seattle Mariners, thanks to a Suarez home run in the bottom of the 11th inning against Toronto, who was starting to slump a little bit. Hey, guess what? The Seattle Mariners have a winning record. In mid-May, they were 10 games under 500. Actually, let me cross-check that. I'm going to go to baseballreference.com, the single greatest website in the history of the planet Earth. Remember I was saying that maybe it was time to fire Scott Service, especially when you consider the fact that there was so much enthusiasm about this team. They were 10 games under 500 on June 19th. Almost in late June, they were a full 10 under the break-even mark. And here we are. It's still technically early July, and they have been on an absolute rampage. In fact, they have won, They've won 8 of their last 9? Something ridiculous like that. Sweeping the Padres, nearly sweeping the A's, taking 3 out of 4 from the A's. The walk-off against Toronto, beating San Diego and Toronto. And earlier, they beat up on Oakland and the Angels, but here they are. They're winning the games they're supposed to win, and they're beating decent teams. The Mariners are now the team that could make the American League interesting, because as of this recording, the Mariners are only 2 games out of a playoff spot. 2 games. And guess who they play? Let me put it this way. Let's say the Mariners win today. And let's say the Mariners win tomorrow. Both possibilities are at home. If those 2 events happen, then the Mariners are tied. They will have caught the Blue Jays. And they would be right behind the Red Sox, who are inevitably going to crash and burn. There's a possibility, there's a real possibility. At some point this week, the Mariners could leapfrog the Blue Jays and the Red Sox and be on the cusp of passing the Tampa Bay Rays. So good on them. Julio Rodriguez is a big reason for this. Suarez is a reason for this. So good for the Mariners. But I'll tell you the other team that I've gotten a little bit of guff from some of my listeners for, I don't know, say ignoring is the right term, but not paying as much attention, which I guess is a form of ignoring. The Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles, again, a team that was in mid-June, 10 games under 500. They are on a roll. On June 21st, around the time the Mariners were 10 games under, on June 21st, the Baltimore Orioles were 9 games under 500. That's not good. After that day, after dropping that, the Baltimore Orioles are 11-5. They've won 11 out of their next 16 games, and 3 of them have been walk-off wins, including a wild walk-off win last night against the Angels, who, by the way, stink. So Baltimore, as of this recording, is ahead of the White Sox, who a lot of people, including I, thought were going to win the division. They're right behind Cleveland, 1 game behind Cleveland, who just a few weeks ago were in first place by themselves in the division. Baltimore, stop the presses, is only 4 games out of a playoff spot. 4! And this should wake up a team like Boston or Toronto or Tampa Bay, who may have thought they were going to sleepwalk their way into a playoff spot, you better start winning some games. From the people who invented healthy and tasty comes the latest gift to your taste buds. You've probably tried the amazing coconut brownie chunk Built Bar, but guess what? Your friends at Built have given coconut brownie chunk the Puffs treatment. That's right, coconut brownie chunk Built Bar, that flavor you love, is now a delicious chewy marshmallow covered with 100% real chocolate. It's like a fluffy cloud of coconut brownie goodness. Stop drooling and listen. They're good for you. Low calorie, low sugar, high protein, and all delicious. Coconut brownie chunk puffs are here for only a limited time, so go to Built.com now to make sure that you don't miss out. They're going fast because they taste amazing. All Built bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. The best part about Built Puffs, of course, is they taste amazing, but you can enjoy them guilt-free because they're actually good for you. That's the perfect treat. Perfect when you have a craving, perfect when you need to satisfy your sweet tooth, or if you need a quick, healthy snack. They're an excellent source of protein. Delicious, coconut-rich, brownie, creamy, marshmallow. Stop fantasizing. Go to Built.com to order your box of coconut brownie chunk Built Puffs right now. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 to get $15 off your order, and use promo code LOCK15. Okay, let's take a quick peek at what happened on Saturday. I'm recording this part on Sunday morning. Let me just tell you something. I have an axiom, and this sounds like it's a no-brainer, but it's something to think about. There's never a wrong time to win an entire week of games. 7 wins in a row is never a bad thing to do, wherever you are, whatever part of the season it is. And if you are a fan of the Seattle Mariners, guess what? Your team just won 7 games in a row, including an absolute thriller on Saturday evening between Toronto and the Seattle Mariners. It was a great pitcher's duel. And actually, Robbie Ray pitched great. Alek Manoah, who's a fantastic pitcher, held the Mariners scoreless. It was a 1-0 game going in the bottom of the 7th. And all of a sudden, Carlos Santana, who I forgot was even on the Mariners, hit a 2-run home run. With that, the Mariners have climbed to within, and drum roll on this one, please, 1 game of a playoff spot. 1 game. If they win on Sunday, they will be tied for a playoff spot in mid-July. This is coming from a team that in late June was sub 500. Last week, a couple of days ago, we're sub 500. You win a week of games, then this happens. It also doesn't hurt their cause that Toronto is the team that they're playing. And playing head-to-head and winning a bunch of these dramatic games, suddenly Seattle, who was dead from the neck up, and I was calling for their manager's head, say, hey, put Joe Madden in there. Guess what? Scott Service must have heard that and said, I'm not going to update my LinkedIn page. And boom, the Mariners are in the thick of it. And my whole call for the teams like the Blue Jays and the Red Sox and Tampa Bay, just play better than the runner-up of the Central, because then you'll get a wild card spot. Well, guess what? There's a new person showing up to the party. And that's Seattle. They have a winning record now. They're staring down Toronto right now and are only 2 back of Tampa Bay, who can't seem to beat the Cincinnati Reds, as they lost another walk-off game to Cincinnati, and to Boston, who Boston woke up from their doldrums and had a absolutely phenomenal bottom of the 8th and then bottom of the 10th inning. Alex Verdugo got a pair of key hits, including a 2-out, 2-run walk-off, come from behind hit to win the game in the bottom of the 10th inning. And the Red Sox finally got a win against the New York Yankees. And while I have no idea how they're going to do tonight, they're probably going to lose that. At least they saved face and didn't. They were 1 strike away from staring a potential 4-game sweep at home in the face. So Boston woke up and took care of business. The Twins lost again. And so they're a little bit in a spiral with the Cleveland Guardians woke up from their doldrums and got a fantastic performance from Jose Ramirez. And the Guardians are now only a game back in the loss column of Minnesota as I record this. But guess what, folks? There's another new sheriff in town. Seattle is only one game out of a playoff spot. Do you know there's only 3 games out of a playoff spot? 3. 3 games with all of August, all of September, and half of July. 3 games out. That would be the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles, who won a razor-thin game against Anaheim. I'm sorry, I'm going to call them Anaheim because that's how badly they're playing. Remember the Angels were actually a wild card team just a few weeks ago? Well, now they are falling where they could potentially have the worst record in the American League this year. That's on the table. You know, if Detroit passes them, only KC and Oakland are between the Angels and the bottom of the American League. But the Orioles have won 7 in a row. Now, it tells you a lot that they've won 7 in a row and they're still a sub-500 team. But that being said, they are now 3 games out of a playoff spot, which means the whole just automatic assumption that they are going to be sellers at the trade deadline. Hold on a second. What if they kept Trey Mancini? What if they kept some of their veteran pitchers and they picked up, they're not going to be involved in a huge blockbuster trade, but they pick up the equivalent of a Jock Peterson or Jorge Soler like the Braves did last year, a couple of spare parts. A win here and a win there. This may be a gigantic leap for this Orioles team if they can play at least some meaningful games in August and potentially September. I don't think this team's going to the playoffs now, but if some of these players could start to play and face some of that, test them a little bit down the stretch for a team that's going to have the number 1 pick in baseball in a couple of weeks, which I think they may want to consider drafting someone who could be on the roster in 2023. That's something else. You got to give the Orioles tons of credit for what they've done. You got to give the Mets tons of credit on Keith Hernandez Day for winning with a wild bottom of the 10th inning with a pair of Marlins errors. Basically, they handed the game back to the Mets, and the Mets remain on top of the National League East, despite a surging Atlanta Braves team. The Philadelphia Phillies, by the way, have been clobbering the Cardinals. Okay, maybe not clobbering. They're winning games by 1 run and having complete game losses on the side of the Cardinals. But the Cardinals are losing these games at home, and they are now fallen out of they're not a playoff team right now. And San Francisco, who has been dreadful, got an absolutely wonderful complete game from Carlos Rodon against San Diego. So maybe, just maybe, this is the kick in the butt the Giants need to have with a big win against a division rival like that. Clayton Kershaw, by the way, pitched a great game, vintage Clayton Kershaw. And if he's on the Dodgers and pitching really well, remember, he wasn't on the playoff roster last year. That'd be a heck of a addition in some way for the Dodgers. And I'm bringing one thing up to tie this whole segment full circle. The Dodgers have won 6 games in a row. If they win today against the Cubs, who are falling like a rock and the Cubs could wind up having the worst record in the National League. It's a bad time to be one of the former teams of Joe Madden as a manager, I guess, unless you're Tampa Bay. But if the Dodgers win today, that will mean 7 wins in a row for the Dodgers. And that means that they'll have won a week's worth of games. As I said at the beginning of the segment, it is never the wrong time to win a week's worth of games. We're going to finish the last segment of this podcast is going to be recapping what happened on Sunday. But right now, let's talk a little bit about Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or sometimes intimidating questions and wait for the person behind the counter to order the parts on the computer, choosing the brands that the warehouse just happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Rock Auto's prices are reliably low for every customer. So go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution for their auto parts need. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck. Write Locked On in there. How did you hear about us box so they know that we sent you? Amazing selection and reliably low prices. All the parts your car will ever need. They're at rockauto.com. All right, for those of you who are watching the YouTube video, you may notice that it's just the logo. I'm having a little bit of technical issues with our video, and quite frankly, I need to go to bed soon. So we'll have a full video on tomorrow's episode with Millard Thomas, where we're going to be breaking down the All-Star Game selection. So that should be a good show we're having doing that. Let's just recap a little bit of what happened on Sunday. I am going to start with the Red Sox-Yankee game. What a difference 24 hours makes when the Red Sox were one swing away from falling behind 3-0 in the four-game series. They came back to win that. They were down 6-2 here. The Yankees just played really sloppy baseball. And Aroldis Chapman needs to be DFA'd. If you're the Yankees, Aroldis Chapman doesn't serve any purpose in this bullpen. Cut him. I mean, I've been clear in my opinions of him personally, but just he offers nothing to the team. So cut him. Just cut him. You're the Yankees, you can cut him. He offers nothing, and there's this sense of, we should probably use him. No need to do that. Story was the big hero, of course, for the Red Sox. His 3 runs driven in, 3 runs scored. And, hey, there's not a Red Sox fan in the world that would not have taken splitting a 4-game series with the Yankees, especially after what happened the first 2 games. So there you go. The Orioles can't lose. Orioles cannot lose. They won their 8th in a row, and they are now just 1 game under 500. And the Angels are continuing to sink. The Braves won with Austin Riley walk-off single. The Rays got swept by the Cincinnati Reds, 10-5 today. They were doubled up. Tyler Stevenson hit a home run. India got a smash. The Rays are in a little bit of a funk, and we're going to talk a little bit about what that means. Sandy Alcantara, I just found out his name is pronounced Alcantara, pitched a great game, and it was a great pitcher's duel between Walker and Sandy Alcantara. But the Marlins came to win 2-0. That, with the Braves' victory over the Nats, should make Mets fans a little bit nervous, but they have DeGrom coming up. I still have faith in this Mets team. Zach Greinke turned back the clock, and the Royals defeated the Guardians 5-1. Hey, the White Sox had a big rally in the 8th inning. A.J. Pollock got the game-winning hit, and the White Sox wound up beating the Tigers, saving face there. Big credit to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They hit 4 home runs on Sunday, and it was the Brewers took the lead going to the 9th. The Pirates wound up taking the game by a score of 8-6. O'Neal Cruz got a solo home run. The Cardinals finally were able to avoid this sweep with the Phillies. That was 8-6 was the final. Brewers over the Pirates. The Phillies did not sweep the Cardinals. The Cardinals wound up winning, holding on, scoring runs in the 7th and the 8th. Tommy Edman, who I think should be on the All-Star team, got the go-ahead RBI to put the Cardinals ahead. But the Phillies are still ahead of the Cardinals now in that wild card chase. Byron Buxton hit a home run. Twins held on to win 6-5. The Twins are still in first place in the Central. Jake Odorizzi had the best pitching performance of any American League pitcher in their Astros 6-1 victory over Oakland. Sorry, Miller, the Diamondbacks lost, even though Ketel Marte hit a home run. The Rockies had a 3-run rally in the 7th inning to make a winner out of German Marquez. And Connor Joe got the go-ahead hit for the Rockies in that game, which really doesn't have a lot of meaning. The Giants are starting to pitch well. They got a great performance by Rodon the other day. Alex Wood had a great performance. The Padres got absolutely crushed 12-0. The Dodgers and the Cubs had a weird, wild slugfest at Chavez Ravine. The Dodgers wound up holding on 11-9. P.J. Higgins hit a grand slam. Trey Turner got a big hit in that one. 4 hits for Freddie Freeman there, and the Dodgers held on to an 11-9 victory. And Carlos Santana hit 2 home runs. The second one was a go-ahead shot in the 8th inning, and the Mariners completed the sweep of the Toronto Blue Jays. Now let's talk about the significance of that. With that victory, the Mariners and the Blue Jays are now tied for the third wild card spot. They're tied. The Mariners right now are a playoff team, and it is now mid-July. This is the time when teams should start thinking about, do we make a run for it? And just a few days ago, it looked like the American League was all but set. It looked like it was all wrapped up. And suddenly, it just took a nice slump by Toronto. They're in the middle of a terrible slump, losing 9 of their last 10 games. A slump by Tampa Bay, who were shockingly swept by a bad Cincinnati team. Baltimore suddenly can't lose. They've won 8 in a row. Seattle can't lose. They've won 8 in a row. And with that, we may finally have the anarchy that I want. Now, right now, as of this recording, Boston has the top spot in the top wild card position. Tampa Bay, Seattle, Toronto, Baltimore, Cleveland, Chicago, and yes, Texas are all separated by 4 games in the loss column. 4 games in the loss column separate all those teams, and which, by the way, goes further to shame the Angels that with the race opening up like this, they're still not contenders. But the American League could become that anarchy-filled wild card chase that we're all hoping that they would become. And no small part of it is there's no wrong time to win a week's worth of games. And as for Seattle and Baltimore, it's more than a week's worth of games. You cannot stop them. It's always the right time to win 8 games in a row. And Los Angeles, well, they've now won 7 in a row. And the Phillies have that final wild card spot. And they're going to be fighting with the Cardinals, who are a game back. The Giants are 2 games back. And hey, the Marlins are only 4 games back of a playoff spot right now. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So, what do we have going on here on a Monday slate? What's going to be happening? Well, let's take a look. I'm going to the baseball app here. We have a doubleheader between the Tigers and the Royals. The Marlins, remember I said that they're sneaking back? They're going to be playing the Pirates. The Red Sox and the Rays are going to be squaring off. The Rays want to dust off their really humiliating sweep by the Cincinnati Reds. The Red Sox are flying high after the Yankee win. The White Sox and the Guardians are playing in a matchup that could have some significance in the American League Central. Right now, the Twins are idle. The Phillies and Cardinals finished that series. And the A's and the Rangers, Padres, Rockies, Diamondbacks, Giants, the big series, Mets, Braves. Mets, Braves starting on Monday. And if the Braves win, they'll pull to within half a game of the Mets. If the Mets win, they'll push the Braves back 2.5. Do you know what? It was a fun, exciting weekend, but baseball is great because it keeps on flying. So thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. Sorry for some of the technical difficulties that we had. And you can follow us tomorrow as Miller Thomas and I are going to be talking about the All-Star Games and the All-Star Game selection. And thanks so much for making us your first listen. As for your second listen, make that be Locked On MLB Prospects. Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep for the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Well, this has been Locked On MLB for the 10th day of July, 2022. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.